Okay guys, welcome to another Be Built by Broser here live from the Mecca Gold's Gym in Venice Beach. And we're going to continue our series that we've been doing on different ways that we train, different training protocols. We ran through spec training first, then we ran through FTX2, and today we're going to run through something that I call Technique Week. It's not so much of a training protocol, but it's something that I like to throw in. And what I mean by Technique Week is that I take regular repetitions and I change the standard format of repetition, which is basically moving a weight from point A to point B. I use different ways of breaking up the repetitions into different sections so that it just gives you a different stimulus, a different type of a burn, helps you to keep your training fun, and of course to jolt stagnated muscles into new growth. We're going to do that for biceps today. We're going to have Kim Bridges on the show, NPC Bikini competitor who is just a few weeks out of the amateur Olympia, and of course Dave, and then we'll finish the show with some Ask Merlin questions. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, so what we're doing here for the first movement on Technique Week is a barbell curl, and what we're doing is what is known as 1.5 reps. So this is one of the ways that we can alter a normal repetition and change it up a little bit so the body has something else to deal with. And as you can see, what she's doing, coming all the way to the top, she's coming down halfway nice and slow and then back to the top. So that's the 1.5 rep. Up to the top, all the way, full range of motion, halfway down and back to the top. Now she could also do this as 1/2 and 1 reps. If she actually came up halfway, then back down, and then all the way to the top. So you can actually vary this, but today we're doing top half, 1.5 reps. She'll do one more all the way to the top, down controlled halfway, back to the top, and there you have 1.5 rep barbell curls. Okay, for the next movement, we're doing actually a pretty interesting movement here on a cable station. As you can see, something new. We're on an incline bench, we're curling with the weight back behind. And what he's doing here is a technique that I call 5-5 max sets. The first 5 reps that he did actually was the first half of the curl. The second 5 reps was just the top range of the curl from midway to top. And then the third portion of the curl, he's going to do maximum reps with a full range of motion. So again, when you do this, you start at the bottom half, you go from the bottom to the midpoint, 5 reps. Then you go from the midpoint to the top for 5 reps. And then you get as many full range motion reps as you can, all the way to total failure. Now, of course, this is just kind of a set to demonstrate, so we went a little bit light. So he's doing a lot of reps here. But normally you want to pick a weight that will have you fail in the final portion between 5 and 10 reps or so. This is a great way to attack any muscle group, works really, really well for the biceps. And again, this new movement here is really, really excellent because it gives you an interesting stretch and contraction and just a different angle to work bicep. Okay, for the next exercise, we're doing a single arm preacher curl at around a 90-degree angle. And the technique that we're using is something that I called concentric pause reps or positive pause reps. So what she's actually doing to break up the repetition is when she starts from the bottom, she's going to come up halfway, she's going to hold that position for 3 full seconds, and then she's going to squeeze to the top and come all the way down. Now when you come up to that first hold right there, she's not only just holding the weight in position, she's also tensing and flexing the muscle. So it's a really hard paused contraction, consciously tensing the muscle, then coming to the top, returning all the way to the bottom. So again, this is what is known as a concentric pause rep or a positive pause rep. Gives you a huge burn, also great for jolting the muscle into new growth on almost any exercise. Give it a shot. Okay, here's another movement that I may use on Technique Week. Now I actually have a bunch of different techniques that I use, but I'm just showing you 4 of them today. Different techniques to make a regular repetition a little bit different rather than just moving the weight from point A to point B, which is what we're all used to doing. So on this one, we're doing a seated hammer concentration curl. Just a great movement in of itself to work the brachialis and the bicep, of course. And what he's doing is something called an eccentric pause rep or a negative pause rep. So as you can see, what he's doing, he's starting the rep by curling all the way to the top. He's coming down halfway, and then he's holding, tensing, and squeezing for 3 seconds right in the middle of the rep off of the negative portion rather than the positive portion. So again, this is similar to a concentric, but we're doing it on the eccentric. Just gives you a different feeling, different type of burn. And again, another really, really great way to vary a repetition, to just jolt those muscles into new growth, give the central nervous system something different to deal with. Excellent movement. Give it a shot on any curling movement.
All right, Merlin, you have any good question this week?
Yeah, I got a couple of different kind of questions than I'm normally asked, and I figured they were kind of fun, so I'd address them. Somebody asked me about when I was competing. They asked me what was the craziest thing or the most different technique I used when peaking for a show, something that I tried that was just the craziest thing I ever tried, and to peak for a show, and they wanted to know, did it backfire or did it work, and what was it? So I immediately remember a time back, it was like in the 90s, and I think I was doing my first pro show, drug-free pro show after I had turned pro, and I remember that the prep was going brilliantly the whole time. I was in the best condition I'd ever been in, and I remember the Wednesday before the show, I was in the tanning bed, and I got out of the tanning bed and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was just shredded and just covered in veins, and my body fat was just gone, and I should have just looked at myself right there and been like, okay, just hold this condition, which is what I would probably now, what I would be telling people, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. So but back then I was younger, and and I was just very, I was the kind of person who always experimented, which was great because it helped me learn a lot of ways to different techniques for peaking people, so on and so forth, what works, what doesn't work. But the craziest thing I tried was during that prep, I came up with this idea. I'm like, wow, imagine how amazing I'll look if I, on Friday, the day before the show, rather than eating any protein, what happens if I just take amino acid capsules, drink water, and have a little bit of carbs with the amino acid capsules? Like, I'll just be so crazy shredded because there's no fat, there's no nothing, my stomach will be flat, so on and so forth, and whatever. So I took literally that day, I think I did 6 meals, took 25 1-gram amino acid capsules per meal, so I was taking 150 grams of protein, and I maybe took like 25 grams of carbs, and I limited myself to like 6 to 8 ounces of water with those meals, and then I had no other water. And I was feeling like crap during the day. I had a headache, but I figured it was all for a good cause. So I woke up the next morning, and it was kind of strange because it backfired in one way, but in another way it worked. At the time, I woke up and I was just so ripped that you can almost see through me. Like, I just was in the best condition I think that I've ever achieved. Lowest body fat level, lowest water levels. But I remember, going, to the show. I think I kept using the same thing. I kept on just having amino acids and some carbs and just a little bits of water. But things started to get weird when I started to try to pump up. When I tried to pump up, I was getting zero pump. In fact, I was feeling really weak and lightheaded and flat, and like I didn't know, like I just felt like something was just very, very wrong. And when I got out on stage, I was actually immediately put into the middle, and I remember from seeing the pictures, I looked smaller than I did the Wednesday before the show, but I was even more ripped. So my muscles were really like standing out. But within literally, now back then, prejudges were a lot longer than they are today. They would do a lot of comparisons over and over and over again to make sure that they had the proper people in the proper places. So sometimes you would go through your mandatories 5, 6, 7 times, and the prejudges were crazy. So after the first round of mandatories, they started comparing people to me, and I started to get really, really low blood sugar. I couldn't flex I couldn't even feel my muscles when I was flexing them. I started to sweat profusely. my muscles started flattening out, and I know this because I was seeing the difference in the photos that people were taking as the prejudge progressed. And actually it got so bad that I was hoping that they would end the prejudging right after this, because I was still in the middle. But I must have been losing my condition so fast that they actually moved me out of the middle, and they moved somebody else into the middle, and they started doing more comparisons. Long story short, it got so bad that I got so dizzy and lightheaded that I literally started to faint on stage. And in my head, I said to myself, if I faint on stage, my mother, my family are gonna freak out. They're gonna think I'm dead. And so I actually, just before it happened, I literally walked off stage in the middle of the prejudging, walked right off stage, and as soon as I hit the back, I dropped down, and that was the last thing I remember until I woke up. So it was something that I have to say obviously overall backfired, because I didn't finish the prejudging. I don't know whether I was going to finish, where I was going to finish, whether I was still going to have first or was going to be in third, but it actually screwed me up so bad for the entire day that I couldn't even go back at night. Like, I felt like I was so sick, I was so weak, so depleted. So that was definitely the craziest thing that I ever tried. Will never ever do it again. But it was an experiment. I tried. It backfired. I learned from it. And had the prejudging been over like that, I would have probably been fine and won, but it wasn't. And my body got terribly screwed up. So basically, my message from this is don't do anything crazy the final week. You should be in shape the final week. If you're in shape a few days before the show, just maintain it. Don't do anything crazy. Don't switch foods. Don't do crazy carb loads, carb depletion, sodium, all this stuff. Just maintain that last week. Go into the show feeling good and healthy, and that's going to give you your best result.
Good advice.
Okay, guys, so I was actually also asked, with the Mr. Olympia approaching very, very soon, they actually put it to me this way. They said, well, you are known as Merlin, so because you're Merlin and a wizard, do you have any special insights into who's already going to win the Olympia? And my answer to that is, no, I have no clue. I'm Merlin. I'm Merlin at transforming physiques, but I can't make predictions. Otherwise, I'd be a millionaire. I've won the lottery by now. But I will say this: it's going to be a very interesting Olympia. We still don't know whether Sean's going to be in it or not. I hope he's there. So that's kind of still on the table. Looks like Cedric McMillan has been given a special invite, so he'll be there. You have Dexter. You have Brandon Curry. I think William Bonac is still in it. I think Big Rami's going for an invite. I don't think he's going to get it.
Rolly.
You have Rolly, of course. Steve Kuklo. You have a lot of good people on the show. But I think the way that the show is set up for this year, I think anybody can win it. I really do. I think it's really wide open. I think that there's, these guys are all really good. They're all really close. Dexter, of course, has made a tremendous strides this year. He just won Tampa. Trains right here in Gold's Gym. Would love to see the title stay here. I'd love to see either Sean come in and take it again, or Dexter come and take it so it stays here in Gold's Gym Venice. Either one are perfectly capable of winning it. Yeah. Especially the way he looked in Tampa. If he improves even more. Of course, Rolly is an absolute freak, but he's always a question mark. To me, I think that he's one of the freakiest bodybuilders that ever lived. His problem is his waistline. Some shows, or most shows, he comes in and his waist is sticking out and protruding, and that always works against him no matter how massive he is. The one time that he came in and his waist was nice and tight was the best he ever looked. If he can repeat that performance, he's got a shot at winning. Brandon Curry, of course, amazing physique, very, very symmetrical, keeps getting bigger, could use a little bit more in the legs, but his body still flows very, very well. He seems to be in great condition. He's hard as nails. He's very, very striated. He could win. William Bonac, I don't know whether he can win anymore. He's had a couple of issues that have gone on with his coach Neil Hill, which could work against him, but it's still another great bodybuilder who should be up there. I'm with Team Olmec. Steve Kuklo's my brother. He looks fantastic all the time in the gym. He looks like a world beater. If he could bring that gym physique onto the stage, I think he's capable of not winning, but I think he could finally make his way into the top 6. So wide open show. It should be a lot of fun. It should be very interesting. I love when we go into the Olympia, not figuring there's going to be, the champion's just going to repeat. We just don't know what's going to happen. There's too many ifs. So I'm just looking forward to a great show. Hope everybody comes in great shape. And I wish, of course, Dexter, and I hope, Sean, you're there. I really, really think you deserve to be there. Dexter, you've been training hard all year long. Of course, I want you to keep it here at Gold's if you go in. But all these guys are champions, and I just want to see the best man win.
Awesome.